Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick and Jeff Lasseter. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. Please leave us a 5-star review over at Apple Podcasts, and if you write a review, we'll read it on the air. And patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to help support the podcast. And then our TeePublic link is over at ihatecritics.net. Go ahead, Sean.
By the way, we've got the Friday the 13th episode where it's Jeff and I doing a commentary on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is being re-released on the big screen by Fathom Events this weekend. You can see it on Friday across the country. And do check that out. And be sure to listen to the episode. Take headphones with you. Take like some take some AirPods with you. Yeah. You put the podcast on while you're watching it.
There you go.
I might see if I can talk my son into going.
I will go with. I love that movie.
So worth it because, Jeff totally won me over to that movie. The movie itself won me over a lot, but Jeff really put it in perspective for me to really bring me around on Friday the 13th.
It's just one of the best slasher movies. I mean, before Jason, before Freddy, it just sets the stage so well. Even I like it. I like it better than Halloween, even though I know that that's blasphemy to a lot of people.
No, I think it's way better than Halloween.
You hate Halloween.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I think Halloween's bad. But I mentioned that only because it's a Patreon exclusive until the next actual Friday the 13th date. So you have to get on the Patreon to actually listen to the Friday the 13th episode.
Yep.
You don't want to wait till October, trust me.
Because that's a good shot I'll forget. All right. Sean, where can people get your movie reviews?
Vocal.media. You can search my name there, and geeks.media. I've got a review of An American Werewolf in London going up hopefully tonight.
And Jeff, where can people find your art?
JeffLassiter.com.
Excellent.
And all my links are there. You should go buy some prints from me. I'm going to drop some new stuff this week for Scream.
Awesome. All right. And all those links are in our show notes, by the way. All right, let's get on to the meat of our episode, and we will start with the Cocaine Bear.
Speaking of meat.
Cocaine Bear stars an all-star cast, really, directed by Elizabeth Banks. Tells the sort of true story that took place in the 1980s about, this actually did happen. Cocaine was tossed out of a plane, ended up in front of a bear. A bear ate it. The bear died in that story. But in this story,
and scene.
They're having a much more fun here. And this movie really gets off to a terrific start because I think it's Jane by Jefferson Airplane that kicks off the movie. And there's a guy just dancing. He's clearly high on cocaine. He's whipping bags of cocaine out the plane. And then he just goes to jump out of the plane. He's going to crash it to cover up the fact that he's dumping cocaine out of it. And he just hits his head and falls to his death. It is a phenomenal, black comedy scene and sets the perfect tone for this movie for the rest of the way. Then we're introduced to a bunch of different characters who are going to encounter the cocaine bear as the movie goes along. Some of them will be eaten. Some of them will maybe escape, and some will just maybe lose a limb or something. It's really terrific, though. I had such a great time. I don't think this movie necessarily lives up entirely to the hype, but it lives up to enough of the hype that I really enjoyed it. I thought the gore effects were great. I thought Elizabeth Banks really nailed the horror comedy tone, which we'll talk about later with another movie that fails miserably at that. The horror comedy tone here is it's broad in terms of the characters, but then it's very serious about just how to destroy those characters, mutilate them with a bear. I thought that was terrific. Overall, I just had a great time watching this, and I think The only thing that was really holding me back was like dark memories of like Snakes on a Plane, where I was like really going into Snakes on a Plane, thinking that movie was going to be transcendently stupid and and gross and fun, and it wasn't. It was just that one line that isn't even that great a line in the context of the film. Get these motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane. Even in the context, it just kind of falls flat. Here, everything just sort of hits at just the right level to make this work. I had fun. I recommend it.
Jeff?
Oh my God, this was so much fun. I went the first show on Thursday evening, and it was fairly packed for a 5 o'clock on Thursday. And everybody, the energy was so good because it was just everybody was there for it. And not, there was nobody like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Like you do get.
Yeah.
I hate it when I go to a movie and people are talking, but everybody was like, oh my God, this is, talking to each other about the movie, not about just like what they're going to have for dinner after or whatever. So it was like really fun. The soundtrack was amazing when when the needle drop on Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode during the ambulance kill. Oh my God. It was yes. And it's funny because I did go, like I said, I was going to do last time. I did go back and watch the rest of Ant-Man that I missed. And I had to go to the bathroom, and since I'd already seen it, I got up in the middle of the movie, and I'm walking by the Cocaine Bear Theater, and I hear dun 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 dun, dun, and I was like, "Oh, I want to go back and watch that again." I mean, I didn't realize that was Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Just the way everybody, Margot Martindale, come on, who doesn't want to see a movie with her and a bear attack? And the gore alone during that scene.
Phenomenal.
And I can't remember his name, but he's the guy who does all the customer service videos, who played the EMT. He's the guy he's like, oh, you want to speak to my manager? Well, I don't have a manager. I don't even care about this job. That guy,
Aaron Holiday.
Perfection. No, actually, that was the guy with the mustache, not the stoner guy who hooks up with the drug dealers. That was Aaron Holiday, I know, because I always thought he was hot on Euphoria. Just the character work in this alone, it's just like, I mean, the only person that was like serious about what they were doing, like really, really serious, was Ray Liotta. But that's exactly who had to be the most serious about it. Everybody, like Alden Ehrenreich, and if you've seen any movie in the last 6 months, you've seen the trailer for it, where he's like, the bear fucking ate cocaine. The bear did cocaine. He knows what he's in. And him and O'Shea Jackson Jr. are just the perfect pair. And I want to see them like in buddy cop movies. I want to see them in, horror movies, everything, you name it. They were just really good together. I can't say enough good things about Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, I took my entire family to it. We were going to just do a date night, and my son begged and begged and begged. I'm like, you can't even get through anything with even a little bit of gore. You're not able to handle this. So I made him watch Zombieland, and I don't think he actually watched it. Because I'm like, if you can get through this, you can go. But anyway, my daughter wanted to go on a date with her boyfriend, and he wanted to go see this too. So we sat them on a different side of the theater, and my son ran out of the theater twice, which sucked. So I had to go get him. But I did. I mean, I still could see what was going on, but I was slightly distracted. That said, there's nothing wrong with this movie at all. Everybody's perfectly cast. Everybody knows what movie they're in. Elizabeth Banks knows what she's doing. Ray Liotta's great. I mean, everybody is great. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I do kind of agree with Sean. It doesn't quite live up to the expectations, but I don't know that you can.
Absolutely. Great point.
The idea is so great that you're never going to touch the idea. But they did such a good job of making it fun and watchable. And then you throw in the fact that we watched it the same week as Army of Darkness. That's not fair either. But it was. I mean, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I'm glad. I don't know if it's a hit or not.
It is.
That's good. I'm glad Elizabeth Banks is a hit because she's definitely a perfectly fine director. And I mean, just calling it, Elizabeth Banks film. This is not a movie you put a so-and-so film in front of. I thought that was funny.
That like this is her sense of humor.
Yep.
Just down to a T. And I can picture her laughing maniacally behind the camera every time they do something like drag somebody across concrete. That.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was the best part. I finally got him back into the theater just right around the time where that was happening. So it was perfect timing.
I gotta say, my favorite performance in the movie though is Christian Convery, the little kid, the little boy. His line delivery a couple of times where he just mentions the bear having seen what he saw and just being completely changed by it, or him and Brooklyn Prince doing cocaine, eating cocaine.
Oh my god!
I thought that's bold. Like that is she's definitely pushing here, and I loved it. It worked for me. That was really funny. They had terrific chemistry.
And when he gets the line "cocaine bear," I was like, "Oh, finally!"
Yes. Well, that's like nailing the snakes on a plane line that they fail in Snakes on a Plane, like him getting to say "cocaine bear."
Well, I knew that was happening. Because they keep talking about the kids doing coke in all the interviews leading up to this, but I just kind of assumed it was going to be on accident. I didn't think that actually me trying to do it for real, which made it that much more funny. Yeah.
When she put that big scoop of coke in her mouth, I was like, "Oh, she's not coming back from this." And then she spit it out, most of it out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, good."
Yeah, because that's going to kill a child. That much cocaine is going to kill a child.
Oh
I mean, I have no idea. I've never even seen cocaine in person. So I don't really.
Wait, you guys didn't get the free bag of coke when you go into the movie?
I brought minors, so they wouldn't give me any.
What side of town were you on, Jeff?
I saw this in some guy's garage on the west end of Davenport.
That explains it.
No, it really is a lot of fun.
It's so much fun, and the bear looks phenomenal. I think the whole ambulance sequence, once the ambulance gets there to the ambulance leaving, is a terrific piece of horror comedy. Like, just every beat of that is great. The discovery of the bear, the blood flowing underneath the door, Margot Martindale just completely traumatized in the other room, and then just finishing that with her horrific death is just wow, so amazing. What a great sequence. It's one of my favorite sequences of the movie this year.
While showing you a lot of that in the trailer, they do such a great job with the trailer of showing you just enough and still outperforming the trailer with that scene. A lot of times a lesser movie would have been fine with the trailer, but that part was great.
Did you guys see what Kerry Russell said about this?
I did.
What did she say?
I posted that on our Facebook page.
Oh, that's where I read it. Okay, yeah. Tell him, Sean, then.
It's just, why the fuck not? Like, she was asked why she wanted to do a movie called Cocaine
Why would you do
Bear.
this movie? Yeah.
Why the fuck not? Fucking bear doing cocaine. That sounds like great fun.
Well, I see this being a rewatchable movie, too.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad that the kid got away.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Aaron Holiday's character got away because he was so funny. Just the look on his face when Alden Ehrenreich is stuck under the bear, and he's just like, "Can you breathe?" "Yes, I can breathe." "I think it's a girl." "How do you know?" its vagina is on my face. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, somebody goes, "Oh, don't spoil it for me." I was like, "It's a bear that does cocaine."
It was spoiled before you got there.
Yeah.
Oh, just everybody's perfectly cast. I mean, I loved seeing Jesse Tyler Ferguson get to his death. Like, that was great. But Isaiah Whitlock again, it was just, he's so awesome. And everybody expects him to be this great dramatic actor, and he is, but he can be so funny when he wants to be. And that, just him having that floofy dog, I mean, that could be like a really terrible tossed off joke, but he sells that so brilliantly. Just that little thing, totally off to the side, but it fills out the character so well.
Yeah, and the more I talk about this, the more fun it is. Maybe it does live up to the hype.
Absolutely.
Because you can just sit here and just talk about moments from this movie that are just ingenious, just little additions, little things like the horror movie twist of, like, finally you get to root for the bear at the end. Like, that was great. What a choice. Yeah, because you kind of want to root for the bear, but at the same time, they've set up these characters who aren't entirely hateable. And then they give you one moment where you get to root for the bear. Like, yes, cool.
Well, and there's absolutely nothing that you can say to take away from the movie. There's nothing wrong with this. Everything about it is what it's supposed to be, what it needs to be for this movie.
There are negative reviews out there, which kind of surprised me. The number of people who are just the number of cranks who are just able to find flaw with anything. Like, it's a movie called Cocaine Bear. What were you looking for going in?
They probably were looking for high art. I don't know.
I want to see, like, sequels, like the Bad News Cocaine Bears. That kind,
Cocaine Bear 2, the baby bears are still fiends. Searching the world for cocaine. They're going out into the world searching for cocaine.
They're withdrawing. All right.
Excuse me, sorry.
I feel like it's all downhill from here.
Whatever gave you that impression.
Our classic is good.
Yeah, I guess it.
Sure, if you say so.
Shut up, Sean.
We'll get to it.
I was talking with just the new movies, but Jesus Revolution.
Jesus Revolution is a terrible film about a real thing that happened in the late 1960s, early 1970s. Jesus kind of made a comeback amongst a group of hippies in California. They claim that movement spread across the country, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, this is just about burnishing the reputations of a couple of guys who were, important to that movement. A character played by Kelsey Grammer and another character played by Jay Courtney, who are still around today. But realistically, this is just a lot of lies built on lies to just make these guys seem better than they are. It's realistic because within 10 years of this story, the character Kelsey Grammer plays, Chuck Smith, he's portrayed as this guy who hated hippies and then came to love hippies, and we created this movement. Within 10 years, he's professing the end of the world on the 700 Club because there's too much sin on the planet. Well, what happened to your fucking Jesus Revolution, asshole? If your Jesus Revolution was so great, then why are you saying the world's coming to an end, Like, it's just total bullshit. And that's what the movie is. It's just about creating this guy, Lonnie Frisbee, who was a real guy, a real hippie, who thought he was a healer and kind of a drug addict and kind of a potentially mentally ill, becomes the de facto leader of this movement, gets kicked out of the movement for being too much of a cult leader, and then they try and blame everything on him. Anything problematic as part of this Jesus Revolution was blamed on him because he was the drug addict and he was the weirdo and he was the this and that. And the other two guys, they're not problematic at all. They're Jesus-loving Christians who are great, which is just maybe just not true because they were very hateful, and the movement that they led to a lot more hate. As much as they talk about love and Jesus's love and all this bullshit, they just like I said, he became this end of the world prophecy asshole within 10 years of this shit. which they don't tell you in the movie because, of course, they don't. And the idea that Kelsey Grammer is the guy you choose to play the man who embraces the hippie movement. Come on. Like, that is just taking the piss at that point.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
I walked by the theater on Thursday and I was like, oh, God, is this one of those Pure Flix pieces of shit? And
it's Pure Flix adjacent.
You telling me that Kelsey Grammer is that it does nothing to dispel my thoughts that it might be.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad in all the ways you expect. It's competent in terms of production, in terms of like actual production. I can't point to like severe flaws in the filmmaking or anything, or in even the editing. The acting is all, professional level, but the story itself is just it's just make believe about how great these guys are.
Okay, what about Linoleum?
Linoleum stars Jim Gaffigan and Rhea Seehorn. Jim Gaffigan plays a guy who hosts a small-time kids' science show, but he dreams of being an astronaut. Then one day, he sees a car drop out of the sky, and inside is a guy who looks a lot like him, which is very weird. That guy comes along and survives falling out of the sky and takes his job. Turns out he's a scientist, and he's done everything that Jim Gaffigan's character has ever wanted to do, including being an astronaut, and he takes Jim Gaffigan's job. And Jim Gaffigan, meanwhile, is also losing his wife, played by Rhea Seehorn, and kind of everything's going wrong for him. And slowly but surely, they're unraveling this story that begins to meld three different stories into one, and it's really kind of elegant and beautiful the way that they do it, the way that characters sort of meld into each other. Like they foreshadow it when you see the Jim Gaffigan characters, these two people that Jim Gaffigan is playing, is foreshadowing the idea of what's coming later on, but you don't even realize it while it's happening until it gets there, and you're just kind of like, that was kind of beautiful how it got there. Jim Gaffigan is tremendous in this film. It's not a comedic role, but he's bringing his sort of comedic element to it just from being Jim Gaffigan and having that sort of comedic persona, and it lightens everything. So what might be an overbearing art picture with another actor becomes something that's much more accessible because he's there and he's so relatable. And I really love that aspect of it. And I could say the same thing about Rhea Seehorn, who's well known in the comedy circles as well. She again is also kind of bringing that more everyman style to a character that, again, a movie that, again, could be very arty in other hands. And that was a really, really smart casting, two really committed actors who are just cast extremely well. This is a really terrific movie, and I wish people got the chance to see it.
Is it streaming at all, or is it a limited release kind of thing?
Limited theatrical release at the moment. Not sure when the streaming is going to come. It's going to be soon enough, I'm sure. But this is a really terrific movie, and it deserves a wide audience.
Did you see a screener of it? Because I looked for it and I couldn't find. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a critic, so I get the screeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed Jesus Revolution. 'Cause we didn't have to watch that. All right. Our Undisputed classic this week is An American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London, 1981, directed by John Landis, starring David Naughton and Griffin Dunn. The story of a couple of Americans who go on a backpacking trip in England, in the moors, and end up being attacked by a werewolf. One of them is killed. The other one takes on the curse of the werewolf. And man, this movie for me just does not hold up. In terms of I get the reputation about the effects and the gore, and those are impressive. That's never not going to be impressive what Rick Baker does. Rick Baker is a genius, and his creations are incredible. The problem with this movie is David Naughton, who is just this chasm of emptiness, this complete lack of charisma sitting at the center of the movie. And John Landis' story choices, when he's not featuring Rick Baker's effects, he's basically just kind of weirdly inventing these scenes that are going absolutely nowhere, especially this dead on arrival romance between David Naughton and Nurse Alex. She's doing everything she can to try and make him more interesting, and Jenny Agutter. She's terrific, but she can't make him more interesting. And because he's the center of the film, it just kept falling flat for me. I never felt engaged. I was never scared. It's certainly never really very funny. Griffin Dunn is amusing in terms of the juxtaposition of the gore makeup by Rick Baker and his sort of nonchalance in his line delivery. That juxtaposition is humorous, but I never laughed. And I thought the movie seemed to be going for a weirdly horror comic tone, but never really reaching it. And I just the tone is off. Just other anything that's not Rick Baker's makeup and effects really just did not work for me in this.
You want me to go next, Jeff?
Oh, you can, so I can calm down a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I actually liked it quite a bit. I think the Rick Baker stuff's enough to make this whole movie good. I didn't have a problem with. I really didn't have a problem with anything. I thought it was a solid, competent film. The further and further I get away from John Landis, the more I think he's kind of a creep. But I think this movie itself, I think it holds up, and I don't know. I thought it was pretty entertaining and interesting.
Yeah, it's a comedy first and foremost. It really is. It's not a horror movie. It's a comedy kind of based on those, the 50s and 60s horror movies that we look at now and kind of giggle at. And I think if you approach it it's more effective. As a straight up horror movie, it's not very interesting. There are really, really horrific moments in it. Like when he starts to change into the werewolf, he really sells the pain and the what the fuck is happening to me. Griffin Dunn, the makeup on that is phenomenal. I struggle, like I'm coming up with new sticker designs all the time, and that's what I want to do, but it's like, which one do I do? Do I do the fresh kill, or do I do the interim one, or do I do the puppet at the end where it's just, flapping skull, or it's so well done. The dream sequences where he's a vampire and his family's being killed by Nazi werewolves or demons, that's one thing too, that's like, you don't really realize it until that scene that he's Jewish. So a lot of this, like the Catholic imagery that you see in some of the old Wolfman movies doesn't necessarily apply. So it's like, I will always love this movie, and I don't see it as a horror movie that's trying to be a horror comedy. I think it's a comedy with some horrific elements, and I think that and the makeup is what really makes it a classic.
Yeah, and I guess I found it amusing. I'm not going to go back and laugh out loud, because I can watch a funny movie, never actually laugh and find it funny, if that makes sense.
Same here.
And that's what I kind of felt like this was. I thought whenever, I don't know his name, is it Griffin Dunn? Whenever he was on his screen, I thought that was entertaining and funny and amusing. But I don't know. I did enjoy it.
I can't get past David Naughton. I find him to be an incredibly bland and boring actor. And some of the choices, like I thought the Nazi werewolf shooting dream sequence was just random. It just didn't. I was just kind of looking sideways at that scene. It didn't do anything for me. And then of course, the romance. I was reading a thing where they were like, the sex scene between him and Jenny Agutter was supposed to be longer, and I'm like, it's already like pretty random. Making it longer is not going to make it any better. This just didn't work for me.
Fair enough.
It's not high art by any means, and he's not an actor that, he did a sitcom after that and then kind of went off into obscurity. And I don't think I think he's attractive and earnest, and I think that's all you really need to be in this movie.
Yeah, and there is some iconic scenes in this movie, which I think definitely pushes it over the edge for me.
Yeah.
Anything else on An American Werewolf in London? Okay, we have 3 movies from 1993. I didn't watch. I've never actually seen El Mariachi. Is that good?
It's an incredible movie. Like the lots of artful violence, an incredibly sexy movie. Antonio Banderas and Selma Hayek. Robert Rodriguez directs violence incredibly well. At least he did then, before Planet Terror. That movie's got it's bathed in cool. It's got a great tone, and yes, the violence is impactful, and you just kind of get immersed in the cool of it more than anything.
Yeah. Then there was Falling Down.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Talk about a movie that doesn't hold up.
The 1993 teenage fascist in me really enjoyed it at the time.
I loved it. I remember like, this guy's kind of like my dad, and then I watch it now and I hate it. I'm like, this guy's kind of like my dad.
I watched this movie today for the very first time.
Oh man.
Holy fucking shit. The whole, the first, when he decides that he's just going to beat up this random Korean dude because he's Korean. I'm sorry, but there's no way you can be on this guy's side. There's absolutely no way from the start of this movie. You're like, oh, what's going on? Because he's stuck in his car, and we've all been there, especially in LA. I've driven in LA. I've been in some, not that bad of a situation on that hot of a day or anything like that, but the traffic there is horrible, and you just get to the point where you're just like, calm the fuck on. However, him going, the first thing he does is have a racist attack on a Korean guy who won't give him change just because he wants it. This is like if white privilege was a movie. It's this fucking movie. I like Michael Douglas as an actor, and I think his performance in this was really good. But the character is so irredeemable, and they try to give you those little outs where you can say, hey, you know what? Maybe he's not so bad. Maybe he just he doesn't even love his kid. He just wants to control his kid. And it's just
that's such a good point.
Gross.
That's such a good point too, and I think what they're failing there is this desire to make him relatable versus making him real, because realistically, this is a guy who's going there to murder his wife and child, and he's seemingly Douglas's performance is rebelling against that idea. And I understand where he's coming from in trying to do that, but it muddles the ending a little bit by doing that. Where it should be a much more clearer kind of black and white idea that Duvall is right and he's wrong. That should be much more black and white in that scenario. Making that gray is a little bit like you're trying to give that character an out, like you said. The thing about the Nazi, too, where he kills the Nazi guy, the racist, homophobic Nazi guy, it's trying to make you feel like maybe he's not that bad a guy, because he's certainly not as bad as this guy that he's about to kill. And it's like you're stacking the deck here in a way that doesn't make any sense.
I thought for a minute that the Nazi guy, he's like, faggot this and faggot that. Pardon me, but and I thought for a second that that's what was going to set him off. Like, hey, these guys are just trying to live their lives. You don't have to be that way. Oh, but no. Of course, the Nazi guy is homophobic because he secretly craves cock and ass, and that's what sets Michael Douglas off, is the fact that he might get fucked by this Nazi. And it's just everything about it is just so gross. It's just, the Robert Duvall character, of course he's going to retire. Of course it's his last day. And this happens. But nothing really happens with it. He's like 15 minutes of the movie, he's dealing with it. And that's about it. It's like, it's not that he has any sort of connection other than seeing this guy's car at the beginning and being in the same traffic jam, he should have some sort of connection to it. Like, oh, maybe this guy helped him out years before on a case, or something that just doesn't make any sense that he's the cop that gets stuck in it. I don't know. The performances were really good. The movie and the direction was just not. I did, however, like the giant ass, Sir Mix-a-Lot ass that made a cameo in this one scene.
That was nice. That was nice to see. Very, very 1993. That
of course, Joel Schumacher has that in there.
The only drawback I had with Duvall, I thought Duvall was great in this, is that whole subplot about him and his wife is just setting up like one of those old jokes about how those wives keep getting in the men's way. Those dumb wives. It's like that was overplayed badly at the end, I thought, and that other than that, though, I thought Duvall really was delivering actually the better performance in the movie, because again, I feel like Michael Douglas is compromising aspects of his performance, trying to make this guy somebody who's maybe an anti-hero, and he's not an anti-hero. He's a guy who's having a psychotic break, who's on his way to kill his wife and child. That's the story. Stop trying to make him likable. Stop trying to make him relatable. Stop trying to make him an anti-hero. He's not an anti-hero.
But I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that's why I think this movie needs to be studied, because it explains a lot about what's going on right now, and in the last 6 or 7 years. They thought he was an anti-hero. I mean, clearly that's not the right answer, but that's what their intent was. Not just Michael Douglas, everybody involved with this. And that's part of why people liked it when it came out. And the people that liked it when it came out that can't look back at it now as problematic themselves. And it's, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be learned from this movie.
Like you were talking about the scene with the Korean grocer, and it's like, they're fist pumping when they say, "No, it's not 85 cents, it's 50 cents. That's not $1.50, that's 79 cents." Like, they're cheering as he's breaking up the store to teach this guy a lesson about what America really is.
Yep.
Stop jacking up your prices, Korean guy.
Or even in the fast food restaurant where they're just like, can't we all relate to our burgers not looking like the picture? And and everybody, the audience for that back then. Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of like, this movie kind of encapsulated how I like to explain the Joe Rogan to far alt-right pipeline. Where you listen to Joe Rogan, not all of his ideas are bad. And sometimes you kind of get, oh yeah, I am just asking questions. And, I'm kind of just curious about this kind of stuff. And he makes some good points in the movies. Like, I'm just sitting here and you guys are coming up and, telling me I'm trespassing on this shitty little hill. And, you could give me this soda for 50 cents as opposed to 89 cents just to help me out, or give me change to help me out. It's a compromise kind of thing. Yeah, there are some good points. However, how do you deal with those points? You bash this guy's store to death. You murder these, like, everybody. It's that he makes some good points, but yeah.
But that's the fantasy for these people, is that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think they think it's real. It's more of a fantasy for them, but it's still, they get way too excited about it. And yeah, and you're right. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but you're right. The Joe Rogan, the far right, that is the audience, that meathead kind of.
I'll say it. I'll say, like, well, it's okay. So it's like, it's the Al Qaeda and the guys who think that they're gonna take over the government by having 15 like machine guns and AK-47s and AR-15s and whatever they want to collect. You're not gonna take over shit, dude. And that, it's just fantasy. It's it's like, it's just, and it's feeding into those fantasies where these guys who think that because they have no consequences up until this point for like, I don't know, saying the N word. You know, they think, oh, I've never, you know, I can't say it. Now I can say it. Awesome. This is like great. I can, you know, I have free speech now. You always had free speech, but you're not free of consequences. And they see a guy like Defense and they're like, oh, he really doesn't have any consequences until the very end. He can get away with shit. Let's do that. It's ridiculous.
It's the crowd is like this crowd of people who thinks that their casual racism makes them edgy heroes and not just racists.
Right?
They say it, why can't I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's.
I live in a small town, so I hear it a lot right now. Really annoying. But I don't know. Then there's Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness, directed by Sam Raimi and starring Bruce Campbell. It's a sequel to Evil Dead 2, in which Ash is sent back in time to medieval times, where he encounters a kingdom.
Not the restaurant.
He encounters a kingdom that's trying to get its hands on the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon, so they can lift a curse or whatnot. It's just about Bruce Campbell being cool and Bruce Campbell being funny, and some terrifically low budget throwback effects, like these amazing skeleton army that's very funny looking, very low budget, very low rent, but it's such a proud tone. It's so proud of being as low budget and weird as it is, and I just that kind of hits the sweet spot of horror comedy for me, in the way that they present the gore and the loving homage of that throwback horror stuff. Bruce Campbell for me is such the kind of hero that I look for in a movie like this. He's got that charisma that I'm looking for. He's got that presence. It's very weird, Jeff. I was actually telling this. We talked about Army of Darkness for the '93 podcast that'll be out later this week, and I was saying that he's the kind of guy who could deliver that Marlowe dialogue that Liam Neeson failed at. Bruce Campbell does. That's kind of his cadence. That's kind of the way he talks in this movie, and he kind of has that throwback 1930s, 1940s hero. And it really works for this material, and it would have worked actually for that material, honestly.
Well, you know what? And if you're going to play Marlowe at that age, he's the right age.
Absolutely. I wish that would have happened. There's a wonderful alternate universe where that happened.
But it's hard to not laugh when Bruce Campbell's on. I mean, is that okay?
It's kind of perfect for this. I mean, he's also, that's another thing. He's like a guy who is willing to be the joke. Like he doesn't have to be the coolest guy. He's cool, but he doesn't have to be cool. And he's willing to look like a complete dork. There's the great scene where he's fighting himself in the movie, or he's fighting little versions of himself, and he's willing to look dumb. I talk about this when I'm writing about wrestling. Where you'll talk about a guy who's willing to be the guy who gets beat, and he's willing to, lay down for the other guy and put him over and make him look good. And Bruce Willis is willing to do that for the people he's fighting. He's willing to make them look good at his expense. It's a wonderful quality that not a lot of actors have.
He meant Bruce Campbell, people listening at home, not Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis is not another cameo like Bridget Fonda.
I will forever try to like everything Sam Raimi does because of these movies. I know not everything's good, but he's so perfect in this world that I just want him to always be successful no matter what. But Army of Darkness is so much fun. You a fan of the Evil Dead's Army of Darknesses, Jeff?
I'm a fan of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 more so. I was never like a sword and sandals kind of guy, so the medieval stuff always threw me.
Yeah.
So when this came out and I went to see it, I was like, oh, okay, get it. It's comedy. It's not, I thought it was going to be a horror movie, kind of like the first one. And, No, not really. And I guess I should have known the poster of it's like a romance novel, so you should know that going into this that it's comedy. But this was my least favorite of the Evil Dead movies until the remake, which unpopular opinion. But I'm looking forward to the new one.
I mean, I agree with you. I think the
ahead.
remake's the worst of the four, but I don't know. This is my introduction to the Evil Deads was through this movie, so I have kind of a soft spot for that reason.
And they missed their chance. Well, Universal told them they couldn't call it the Medieval Dead, which I probably would have liked it a little more.
That would have been a great title. It would have been a great title. I like the Evil Dead remake. I think it's pretty good. It's not as good as obviously as the first two. Nothing's going to live up to the craziness of how they made those first two movies. But I'm a little worried about the new Evil Dead movie. Like it looks almost a little too serious, like a little bit too taking this a little too seriously. That's kind of holding me back on that one because I need that touch of absurdity that the original two have that really put those over the top for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll go see it. I'm curious, but yeah, you never know. Anything else on Army of Darkness?
Like I said, the 93 podcast will be out later this week with Amy and MJ and I, and lots of Sam Raimi talk on there. And of course, and all setting up to our next episode, which will be Best of the Best 2.
I was wondering what you were going to do.
We were thinking about it a lot because this is like the third good movie in a row that we watched, and we've had fun talking about good movies, but I think it's our wheelhouse has proven to be bad movies when we're making the best episodes. So we thought Best of the Best 2, just in case Swing Kids isn't as terrible as we need it to be.
Also next week we got Creed 3, Operation Fortune, Palm Trees and Power Lines, and The Burial. Other 93 movies, Amos and Andrew, Mad Dog and Glory, and Shadow of the Wolf, in addition to Swing Kids and Best of the Best 2. We don't have a classic yet. We're hoping we stumble upon one during Flickchart, unless Jeff thought of one before we went live.
I'm gonna look. I've got a couple that might be brewing inside my head somewhere.
All right. Okay. So, to start off Flickchart, we got Anchorman 2 and Congo.
It's interesting. It's a tough choice here because Congo is almost as funny as Anchorman 2 for all the wrong reasons. But I'm still because I like Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd together. I'll go there for that one.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Me too. The Wolf of Wall Street High School Musical.
I guess the Wolf of Wall Street.
That's High School Musical
The
for
only-
me.
The only part
I understand
of
the feeling.
The Wolf of Wall Street that I absolutely love, because I'm not a Leonardo DiCaprio fan, just in general. The scene where they're in the car and it's like it's taking them 3 hours to get in the door, and it's really just like 30 seconds. That's what redeems it for me. But I've never seen
one. That one scene is better than High School Musical, I think, for me.
That's true.
Well, if it was High School Musical 3, I would definitely go. High School Musical was too straight to Disney. Spanglish, Rushmore.
Rushmore, but I don't hate Spanglish.
Yeah, I would say Rushmore.
I agree. Mean Streets, The Young Girls of whatever that says.
Rushmore.
Rushmore.
Never seen it.
It's a wonderful film, but yeah, if you guys have seen it, you can go ahead and skip it.
Mean Streets,
Okay.
The Other Guys.
Mean Streets, but The Other Guys is pretty funny.
Yeah, the other guys is a movie I don't hate Will Ferrell in. Generally, my favorite thing that Will Ferrell has ever done is the Davenport, Iowa commercials.
Yeah.
But
Those are pretty great.
I did like him in The Other Guys. I'm going to pick The Other Guys just to see what Bob says.
That's Main Streets, but I do like The Other Guys. Baby Mama, Make Mine Music.
Never seen Make Mine Music.
Baby Mama to Die For.
To Die For.
Yeah. Did you know that Baby Mama came out the weekend it came out as counter programming to The Force Awakens?
Yes, I did know that because we made a big deal on the podcast about it. Because I didn't want to go to Force Awakens, but now that you say that, I remembered that.
Yep.
And I still went to Force Awakens because Sean got us free tickets.
I can picture Tina Fey going, "Oh fuck," and Amy Poehler going, "Okay, well, you know what? Let's try it. Okay, let's."
And I saw it. Mabel at the Wheel, Incredibles 2.
That's a Chaplin I haven't seen, unfortunately.
What about Bob, Incredibles 2?
You guys take this one. I hate both those movies.
I hate Incredibles 2 less.
Yeah. I can't imagine why, because I'm sure everybody says, "What about Bob?"
What about Bob is just obnoxious.
I actually ordered food at a drive-thru the other day, and I would just been talking about that stupid fucking line in 21 Jump Street. "My name is Jed." Everybody says that to me. It was old, like before everybody started doing it. And this guy at the drive-thru, when I gave him my name, he did it, and I was like, you know what? I want my money back. They wouldn't give me my money back, by the way.
That's funny. Every teacher I've had since 1991 asked me if I've seen it.
God.
From grade school to junior high to high school to college, it didn't matter. At some point, somebody would ask, "What about Bob?" Paul or SWAT?
Paul. Love Paul. Terribly underrated movie.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely Paul.
Miller's Crossing, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Miller's Crossing, but I love 10 Things. It's a great movie.
I love Miller's Crossing, but I have never seen 10 Things I Hate About You.
I recommend it.
It's very good. Nope. Do you think Disorder in Court?
No.
Slapshot or Charlie Wilson's War?
I
don't.
Yeah, really. I mean, Charlie Wilson's War doesn't live up to what it should be. It should be a better movie than it is. Slapshot, I think, is desperately overrated, but mostly because of the people who like it.
Yep.
So I'm not sure where to go on that.
So I'm going to say Slapshot. For a while, that was my movie, like my comedy, because I lived on a floor with a bunch of hockey players in college. So we watched that about every weekend. Then I changed my mind in my movie. My comedy then was some of my friends like Spinal Tap, and I decided to change it to The Man with Two Brains instead of Slapshot. So. But Slapshot, I'll pick Slapshot.
Fair enough.
I can go with that. The Whole 10 Yards, Endgame, 1983.
I've never seen Endgame 1983.
Watch it be Avengers Endgame. No.
The Whole 10 Yards, The Royal Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Bernie Hot Fuzz.
Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie, because I think Hot Fuzz is not a favorite at all.
Bad Boys 2, The Hot Chick.
Oh.
Good God. Just kill me.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Is that bad?
They're both awful. They're both miserable films. Oh, God. I mean, I guess Bad Boys is maybe just a hair less miserable, but they're both miserable.
Gun to my head, Bad Boys 2. Hate Rob Schneider. Hate everything about him.
He's
always
just
have.
the worst.
The only good thing ever to come out of him was his daughter.
Yeah. Captain Phillips, D2, The Mighty Ducks.
That's tough. Captain Phillips.
Captain Phillips. I'm the captain now.
Doesn't Amelie Westwest say that in D2? We still haven't found a classic yet. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Saved?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but Saved is an amazingly good movie.
I'm going to say save because after watching Inglourious Bastards, the ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it's just Quentin Tarantino wishful thinking, that bugged me. So I'm going to go with saved.
I understand that, but I still really liked it.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm losing that one. Trust me.
You don't. I mean, maybe understand, but after Midsummer, like I didn't want to watch movies anymore. And it wasn't until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that I was like, okay, this not that it's as good, but it at least was entertaining enough to bring me back.
I understand.
Tombstone or Secret Window?
Man, that's
Secret
tough.
Window.
I'm so torn on this.
I'll go Tombstone just to make you call it, but I like Secret Window a lot.
I'm gonna go Secret Window. I think I think I would watch that again. Not that I wouldn't watch Tombstone again, but
Hellraiser, 1987, the Machinist, 2004.
they're both miserable. You guys go.
Hellraiser. Hellraiser. I mean, come on, Hellraiser. It introduced the Cenobites.
Good fucking
I couldn't get into Hellraiser. We tried really hard. Rat Race or Dr. Dolittle 2?
Fishing with Gandhi.
Which one of those two is the classic next week?
Fuck off.
Just Married, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. By the way, I didn't choose anything for the people listening at home.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, sure.
Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Breathless.
Breathless.
I will be the only person just to say it, just so it gets a vote. The Force Awakens.
I love The Force Awakens. I do.
Breathless.
But Breathless is breathless.
Les Mis, The Benchwarmers.
Les Mis.
Les Mis.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Interview.
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters.
Mystic River, Mario Brothers.
Mystic River.
That's tough.
I get you. I'm with you. I understand.
Mystic River.
If it wasn't for some of the performances, that was a disappointing movie.
Yeah, it was.
Back to Problem Child, Moonstruck.
Moonstruck.
Yeah, definitely. Snap out of it.
A Quiet Place, Hugo.
A Quiet Place.
Hometown Heroes, A Quiet Place.
I guess. 9 Lives, Out of Sight. I just want a classic to pop up.
It's Out of Sight, yeah, obviously. Right.
Well, yeah, definitely. Out of Sight.
Parasite, Young Guns.
Parasite.
3 Billboards, Touch of Evil.
Touch of Evil.
Touch of Evil. What a movie.
Yep. Yeah. Hacksaw Ridge, Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, that's the least of the Harold and Kumar movies.
I have never seen either one of those. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Harold and Kumar, I guess. I don't really remember whether or not I liked Hacksaw Ridge or not, honestly.
I thought you did.
I've completely forgotten about. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I'll look at my review later and we'll see.
Horton Hears a Who, John Q.
John Q.
Doesn't matter at all.
Any classic ideas? Because this isn't going anywhere anytime fast. 10 Things I Hate About You.
I love that movie. Jeff, you say you've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
All right.
You can do
Do
that.
you want to see it?
Sure. As long as I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Works for me. All right. That's our show. Everybody have a good night.
Right.
See ya. Bye.